Hey everybody, welcome to the Red Zone. Mike Johnston here with you. Let's talk the latest in college football news as we are in this Memorial Day weekend. And you know, the last show, Shaun and I talked about the fact that teams are allowed to start activities June 1st. That's the latest ruling from the NCAA. And now we know that the SEC is set to return, the Big 12 set to return June 15th. The Big 10 is letting each school decide what they want to do. Ohio State's coming back June 8th, Illinois June 3rd, and that's when they're going to start bringing kids into campus and start activities, weightlifting and things like that. But that isn't without some controversy, and the latest is coming from the team up north, Michigan. Their president, he's a doctor, he's an immunologist by training, but he has said if there's no students on campus, if there isn't on-campus instruction happening, there will be no sports at Michigan, which would mean no football. This coming on the heels of Jim Harbaugh, the head coach, saying he's fine playing in an empty stadium. Regardless of what happens at Michigan, it appears they're not going to have fans in the stands. Now, how that would work if they were to play it on the road or play a team that is letting fans in, who knows? My opinion is there's just way too much to lose for these schools, and I think he eventually walks that back. And I think Michigan will play, but as of right now, it's looking like they won't. But I do expect that to be walked back. So here's the deal. In addition to that, at the Big 12, you have Lincoln Riley wanting to be overly cautious. Even though they're allowed to practice starting June 15th, or at least bring students back, that doesn't mean they will. And and down in Norman, they've been overly cautious to this point, and they have a mayor down there who's been sued in court over extending the shutdown of businesses, and she actually lost that lawsuit. Now they're appealing in federal court, but businesses opened against her orders. But she's raised the question of what happens during game day. Even if we don't let fans in the stands, they're worried about tailgating, they're worried about people being too close together. Look, college football, you're not going to get people to social distance and spread out. It's not going to happen. And it doesn't. And you may have tons of cops on campus that will eliminate tailgating, and you may not let any fans in the stands, but people are, if it's on TV, if there's a game being played, people are going to get together, whether it's in a bar, whether it's in their homes, having parties, watch parties. People are not going to stay apart during college football, especially at a time when people are getting a little bit fed up with all the businesses closed and the social distancing. People are kind of fed up with it. The numbers for COVID-19 are not this drastic doomsday of what everyone was being told would happen. Now it's the fear of a second wave. It's a fear of now the Chinese experts saying it may have mutated and be a lot worse than the original, which, look, whatever. I don't buy that. That's just me personally. But let's get back to college football. So it is possible the Big 12 or the Big 10 at least has said, I do believe that they would go forward with a season, even if a couple of teams sat out and didn't play. So theoretically, the Big 10 could have a season, and Michigan may not play. Michigan State may not play. An interesting fact with Michigan State, because of all the other turmoil they've had up there, losing their coach and everything, if they come back later, it's possible that Michigan State, if they were to play, could end up they've got a brand new coach, they've never had a practice, and they could end up with about 20 days or less of practice before the first game if they were to play, with a brand new coach, a brand new system, and they don't know anything. So there's that. Now in the Big 12, I mentioned Lincoln Riley. Let's get back to the Big 12. On the flip side of that, you go up to Stillwater and you have Mike Gundy, the head coach, who he's ready. Like the first moment they're allowed to get students back and players back, he's ready to get them back because he doesn't believe in all this hype either. And I'm glad he doesn't. And he recently, just a day or so ago, sent out a tweet. Let me look it up real quick. And has a cartoon face with a party whistle like for a birthday, and it says, "See you September 3rd, better buy your season tickets." So that would imply that up in Stillwater at Oklahoma State, they're ready to play with fans. Fans in the stands. Now, why does that matter? Look, the way teams respond and how they go about getting back to playing and how they play the games and whether or not they allow fans, in my opinion, is going to have about a 10-year impact on recruiting. And let me explain that. A lot of these recruits, not all, but a lot of them, they're young. They're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Well, 17, 18, 19. And, you know, young people, you know, they don't want to social distance. They don't care. And if you're a football player, you want to play. That's what you want to do. You want to play. So if a school like Ohio State is able to play a game in front of 60,000 people, and a school like Oklahoma won't let any fans in the stands, now where do you think a recruit's going to want to go play? Do they want to play in an empty stadium, or do they want to play in front of fans and hear the cheer and the roar when they score a touchdown? Where would you want to go? I'd want to go to the place playing in front of fans. Oklahoma State, Chuba Hubbard's returning. He's going to be a Heisman candidate out of the chute. They got Spencer Sanders back at quarterback. They've got a lot of weapons. They have a really, really good team coming back. They really have a good shot at winning the Big 12. And right now, it's early on. We have to wait and see what happens. But right now, they would be my pick to win the Big 12 this coming year. And this, what Mike Gundy's doing, the approach he's taking, is a win-win for Oklahoma State. If they play in front of fans and Oklahoma doesn't, it's a win for Oklahoma State, no matter what the record is. And now let's be honest. It's not like Oklahoma State is going to take away some 5-star recruits from Oklahoma. That's not going to happen. But when you do get down to the 4 and the 3 stars, you get guys who might choose Oklahoma State over Oklahoma if Oklahoma State's playing in front of fans, because it might not just be the 2020 season. These restrictions could go into the 2021 season, maybe 2022, depending on, you know, what people believe and how scared people are. So it's going to impact that. So then if you get guys picking schools that are playing in front of fans for, say, 3 years, well then let's say they're there 4 years. Now you're up to 7. And it could even go a little longer. So you're looking at about a decade of impact on recruiting based on the decisions these schools make. And we all know that college football is the big moneymaker that funds the athletic departments. It is what drives college football, the college football playoffs, the TV money. If it doesn't come in, a lot of schools could end up dropping athletics altogether. It could happen, especially the group of 5 schools that rely on this money, that rely on an Ohio State paying them $1 million to come play at Ohio Stadium. I mean, they need that money. They really do. And it looks like, at least this season, they may not get it, at least a lot of the schools. So recruiting is going to take a big hit for some of these schools. So I think that given the numbers, given the situation we've seen with COVID-19, now they've come out, the CDC has come out and said it's mainly spread just person to person, and actually touching a surface that might have it on it isn't really a way it spreads, which is completely contradictory to what they've told us up to this point, which just, in my opinion, proves what I've been saying all along, which is they don't have a clue about what's going on. They don't know. They're just throwing things out there. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing which noodles stick. I mean, they just don't know. And when there's that much uncertainty and you have a low percentage of infection rate and a low death rate, rates that are already, even though they're lower, are inflated. I mean, we've heard the stories about, you know, somebody had COVID-19 at one point and then got over it, but they died of a heart attack. Well, they had COVID-19, so it's a COVID-19 death. No, it's not. So it inflates the numbers. On top of that, you have... and we now know that there's several states that are inflating numbers just by how they test. So if one person gets a COVID-19 test and it comes out positive, and then they were like, well, they weren't sure of the certainty, and the doctor says, let's do another test, and they do another test, and maybe they do a third test. They've taken 3 tests. Let's say all 3 tests for the same person comes back positive. They are counting that as 3 positive cases. 3, when it was 1 person. So that overinflates the infection numbers as well. And it's completely cooking the books is what it is. So that being said, knowing that that is happening, and I just don't see how you could just we've already tanked the economy. Are we going to tank our colleges as well? I mean, I don't. I hope we don't. I hope we don't. So, but that's what we have going on with that. In some other recruiting news, it appears that Kalen Newton, brother of Cam Newton, is transferring to Auburn, so he's going to follow in his brother's footsteps. We'll have to see how that goes. And then, of course, the infamous Dr. Anthony Fauci, the guy everybody thinks is, God when it comes to coronavirus, he gave his 2 cents on how colleges should reopen, and he just wants everybody tested. I mean, this is the same guy who thinks that everybody should be carrying around an immune card once they've had it to prove they've already had it. I mean, it's his some of the things he says is ridiculous. I'll just leave it at that. But that's his 2 cents. He wants everybody tested, and he wants players living in a bubble. Keep them all in the same hotel. Once they're all tested negative, they can't do anything. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. They're going to find ways to get together. They're going to go out. They're going to find restaurants and bars that are open. They're going to go to them. You can't do that. I mean, it just doesn't work on a college campus. So there's that. Not really important to college football, but we'll just throw out the infamous Ryan Leaf. The store, it was a star at Washington, and an ESPN analyst. He's been arrested for domestic battery. So this is a guy that supposedly turned his life around, got things back in order. Had spent the last couple years, working last year, I guess, as an analyst, and was doing really good. And it looks like he's lapsed in judgment again. So there's that with Ryan Leaf. That's about all I've got. We have the dates for several teams to start. And at this point, it's still a fluid process. It's sit and wait, basically. We're going to have college football in some fashion, one or another. We are, especially with the Power 5 conferences. Some of these schools may opt not to play. I mean, it's possible, but we move through. What matters is that we have it, that we play. And on a side note, unrelated to college football, over the weekend, I went to the first wrestling event in the country that has gone on in front of fans. It happened in Guthrie, Oklahoma. The BCW, little independent, not well-known wrestling organization, but they had a wrestling event in Guthrie, Oklahoma at the Guthrie Fairgrounds. There was probably 200 plus people there. I saw one fan, I should say, the entire night that had a mask. Nobody was social distancing. They made an announcement beforehand, said space out how you feel comfortable. Nobody spaced out. You could tell people didn't care. Like they were just glad to be somewhere where there was sports going on. And so there was a good crowd. It wasn't completely full, but it was a good crowd. And the guys there, they had safety protocols for the wrestlers, took their temperatures. All the workers had masks on and gloves. They had a doctor on site checking people coming through the door, fans and stuff. They social distance at the concessions, 6 feet apart. But as far as sitting in the stands and stuff, people were shoulder to shoulder. But it was a good night. It was a good event. I was there covering it for a news media outlet overseas because they had a special wrestler there who wrestles as Michael Jackson, pretty interesting character. And so I was there covering that. So it was nice. It was nice to be at an event that had fans, and I hope we have many more of them to come. So that was the first. And of course, Guthrie was the site of the first live sports event since the pandemic shut everything down, which was PBR Rodeo at the Lazy Arena. They had an event live on CBS, and it was just the riders. There was no fans. But Guthrie, Oklahoma and here in Oklahoma, we're pretty much open now for the most part. And we're getting back to normal, and we love it. And since we've been open, since May 1st, hasn't really been an increase at all in cases, and we've had nearly 0 deaths. I mean, maybe every couple of days we'll see one, but we've been open. It's been 25 days now, and no spikes, no increases. Parks are full. People are out at the lake, out Lake Hefner. It looked like a rock concert one weekend. Just tons of people. There's tons of people out there today. They were windsurfing and stuff. And people, you got to get out. I mean, this virus is not going to survive in the hot weather and in the sunshine. your best bet is to be outside, not inside. So, I wish other governors of other states would take notice of what's happening here in Oklahoma. And we are also the state where we are treating all the COVID patients with hydroxychloroquine, the one the FDA is warning about and Fauci says not to use. We've used it since the beginning here in Oklahoma, and we are one of the biggest success stories as far as states go as far as COVID-19. So you can't believe everything you hear from the federal government. People, don't be sheep. Don't believe me. Go research it for yourself and look into it yourself. Don't just take what the government tells you. I mean, don't do it. Think for yourself. That's all I'm saying. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. I'm just excited. I'm just trying to find things we can talk about. We'll have some more videos later. But in the meantime, I hope everybody is staying safe for what you think is safe. Do whatever you feel is comfortable. And if you don't believe in all this, then go do what you want to do. And if you do and you're scared, stay home. I mean, it really is your choice. I'm not telling people how they should go about this, but I think they should think for themselves as far as how they decide they're going to live their lives, because we cannot live in fear. We can't do it. I mean, we have to get back to being a free society. We need to get back to enjoying the freedoms that we're afforded by the Constitution. And we can't live in fear, and we can't live under total control by a government. That's just not the right way. It's not the American way. So God bless you all. Thank you for watching this show. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Like the video. Give me your comments, good and bad. I mean, if you think I'm an idiot, tell me. If you agree with me, tell me. Love to hear from you guys. Hit the notification bell too. You can check us out on Twitter. We've kind of suspended the podcast until that is ready to go, probably until predictions when we get a season. So for now, just YouTube. But thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.